The Biden administration has released its budget proposal for the next fiscal year, complete with a bump in funding for the Department of Defense. The Air Force and Space Force are using those funds to better prepare the country's armed forces for the future. Leaders say a new direction is necessary to keep up with China. Joining us now, Undersecretary of the United States Air Force, Gina Ortiz-Jones. Very good to have you on the show with us. We'll get to China in just a moment, but given the aggression, the Russian aggression in Ukraine, one of the biggest issues has to do with the Air Force, and that's the discussion of a potential no-fly zone and, of course, the big issue of jets. Can you talk to us about the challenges on both of those fronts?
Well, good morning, Mika. It's really a pleasure to be with you this morning. The president has been very clear about our policy on a no-fly zone. We are encouraged by the way in which the alliance has really rallied. The alliance has never been stronger, and we continue to look for ways to make sure that we're supporting Ukraine's efforts to defend itself, defend its territorial integrity.
Secretary Ortiz-Jones, thank you for being with us this morning. Good morning. So if the no-fly zone is off the table, and you all have made very clear, the president has made clear that there will not be a no-fly zone despite requests from President Zelensky. As someone like you who understands what it means to sort of fight over control of the airspace, how do you control what Russia is doing? How do you stop what Russia is doing from the air, which is wiping out entire cities like Mariupol in the absence of a no-fly zone?
Well, as we look at the way ahead, I mean, we're doing this in concert with our partners and allies. It's been $2 billion that the administration has provided in security assistance since the start of the administration. It's been just about $1 billion over the last couple of weeks. So I think there can be no question about our commitment to the Ukrainian people. But we are looking to make sure that we're making measured steps in concert with our allies in the interest of long-term stability in the region.
So obviously their focus has been Russia, but so much of this budget is indeed about China. So let's pivot there. Tell us why this is needed, what sort of threat China poses, and also the role that Space Force plays in this, which I think is a branch of the military that a lot of people don't really know much about. When then President Trump introduced it a few years ago, tell us what role it will play.
Yeah, well, so we are very excited about this budget. This is a record budget the administration has provided not just to the Department of Defense, but as you mentioned, to the Department of the Air Force, split between the Air Force and the Space Force. And Secretary Kendall, the Secretary of the Air Force, has been very clear about the transformation that is needed. When we think about the capabilities and the platforms that enabled us to be successful in a violent extremist organizations in the Middle East, that's just a different set of capabilities than what we will need in the high-end fight in the Indo-Pacific. And so this is very much tied to our understanding of what are those capabilities that we're going to need to have air superiority and space superiority. To your point about the Space Force, when you look at just the investments that China has made, certainly in their military, but in their space capabilities in particular, it's important that we continue to have space superiority. So you'll see in the budget, for example, investments in a resilient architecture focused on missile warning, missile tracking. And these are the types of things that are so critical, not only, for example, the GPS, but it's really those same satellites that enable something that affects everyone's every day, such as ATM banking, right? So space is decisive. This budget reflects our commitment to making sure that we have the capabilities to ensure space superiority. This budget also reflects the transformation that's needed in our capabilities to ensure we have air superiority. So things, for example, for those that really want to nerd out on it, on the next generation of air dominance and the family of systems. What are those new types of fighter platforms and capabilities that we'll need? That's all reflected in this budget based on, again, the urgency with which we need to transform.
All right, Undersecretary of the Air Force, Gina Ortiz-Jones, if you could.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.